Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna. Welcome back to our channel, Bhagavad-gita. Here it is. We are reading Bhagavad-gita as it is, commentary and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And my name is Labanga Latika. So we are in the 4th chapter, Transcendental Knowledge, and we have just heard Krishna put so much emphasis on learning the truth by approaching a spiritual master. So this verse is a continuation of that. I will read the Sanskrit. Yat gyatva punamoham evang yasyasya pandava yena bhutan yasheshani drakshyasyatman yatho mai. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or, in other words, that they are mine. This is Krishna speaking. The purport. The result of receiving knowledge from a self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The sense of an existence separate from Krishna is called Maya. Ma means not, and Ya this. Yes, sometimes we hear about that Maya illusion, and this word is an illusion, and sometimes that comes out thinking that, well, nothing here is real, but the real illusion, because everything here, of course, is temporary to its nature, but still those elements that we find around us, even if the forms are temporary, the elements are coming from Krishna. They are God's energy. The illusion is the way we look at it. We're thinking this word is eternal. I am this body. This is meant for my enjoyment. That is the illusion. Some think that we have nothing to do with Krishna, that Krishna is only a great historical personality, and that the Absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in the Bhagavad-gita, this impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of everything. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So Krishna is Anadir, he has no beginning, and Anadir, he's the beginning of everything. Sarvakarana Karanam, all the causes, their cause is Krishna, who has no cause. Yes. Even millions of incarnations are only his different expansions. Similarly, the living entities are also expansions of Krishna. The Mayavadi philosophers wrongly think that Krishna loses his own separate existence in his many expansions. This thought is material in nature. We have experience in the material world that a thing, when fragmentally distributed, loses its own original identity. But the Mayavadi philosopher failed to understand that absolute means that 1 + 1 is equal to 1, and that 1 - 1 is also equal to 1. This is the case in the absolute world. So yes, of course, we are coming to this knowledge and this understanding from our own experience and based in how we see this world. So the spiritual world is different. Spiritual knowledge is different. And therefore it's quite important to have that little basic humility. We heard that in the last text here. Try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. A little bit of humility. Humility is actually the start of knowledge. Because if you don't have that little bit of humility to realize, I don't know everything. There can be things that I don't know. And maybe I should learn them from somebody who does know. Of course, we're not foolish. We're not going to believe something that is, of course, we're not foolish. We're not going to believe something that is, how to say, incredible. Incredible is just a word sometimes we use, but it means something that doesn't have credibility, that we cannot take seriously. If somebody comes and tells me, yes, you can walk with your feet in the ceiling and the sky is red, well, I don't believe that, because that doesn't correlate with my experience in this world. The spiritual world, though, we have no experience, and then from a certain logic train of thought, we can understand I am alive, everything in this material world is inert matter, and if somebody dies, meaning the soul leaves the body, that body also becomes inert matter, and I live and I live and I live, and everything changes around me. And so it is not incredible to see the soul as eternal, full of consciousness, and ultimately seeking its own nature of bliss, because that is what we see around us. Nobody is satisfied with being ignorant, dying and suffering. These are not natural states for the soul. So therefore Krishna reaches out to give us this knowledge, and we, waking up from partially waking up from this illusion, realizing there must be more to life. Dear God, wherever you are, please let me have more knowledge, understanding, satisfaction, realization in this world. For want of sufficient knowledge in the absolute science, we are now covered with illusion, and therefore we think that we are separate from Krishna. Although we are separated parts of Krishna, we are nevertheless not different from him. The bodily difference of the living entity is Maya, or not actual fact. We are all meant to satisfy Krishna. By Maya alone, Arjuna thought that the temporary bodily relationship with his kinsmen was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted towards this end, that a living being, as Krishna's eternal servitor, cannot be separated from Krishna, and his sense of being an identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. The living entities, as separate parts and parcel of the Supreme, have purpose to fulfill. Having forgotten that purpose since time immemorial, they are situated in different bodies as men, animals, demigods, etc. Such bodily differences arise from forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. But when one is engaged in transcendental service through Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this delusion. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master, and thereby avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is that the Supreme Soul, Krishna, is the supreme shelter for all living entities, and giving up such shelter, the living entities are deluded by material energy, imagining themselves to have a separate identity. Thus, under different standards of material identity, they become forgetful of Krishna. When, however, such deluded living entities become situated in Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that they are on the path of liberation, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gita, Canto 2, 10th chapter. Muktir hitvan yatharupang svarupena vyavasthiti. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. When we forget that knowledge, perfect knowledge is that the Supreme Soul, Krishna, is the supreme shelter for all living entities, and giving up such shelter, the living entities are deluded. We always need shelter. We don't think about it often, because our situation, we always somehow already structured our lives. But we are not independent. We cannot be floating in thin air in full satisfaction. And especially we look at society, we see how everything is kind of entangled together. Society cannot function with just individuals without connection. So we are in that structure, and we can already see that maybe somebody's growing food, and those of us who are not growing food, we do some other work, and then we buy the food. We drive on roads. Everything is there because we didn't start yesterday. And sometimes people think, well, I want to be completely independent. In my youth, there was something called, I don't know what it was called in English, but people had the idea that they should go out on the countryside and grow their own food and manage. And these were city peoples, and they had no idea what they were doing. Some of them managed, most of them had to go back to that society that they had some idea that they wanted to reject. But even that, even if we managed to have a small farming situation, grow our own food, that's not independence. If we didn't have the ground, if we would be falling in space, there would be nothing to grow. We have the earth, we have the ground, we have the sun, we have the rain. We have not manufactured that. We are not independent. And as human beings, maybe somebody who's very, very stubborn and strong and determined can create a little farming situation to get their own food without the help of anyone else. But in general, we need each other. In society, outside of society, in the family, we are never independent. Separate identity from Krishna. This is a delusion. We're always dependent on Krishna. And therefore, as human beings, now we have the opportunity to remove that delusion, to remove that illusion, to come back to realizing our eternal situation. Muktva hitvanyatha rupam svarupena vivyastita. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position. So this whole Mayavad philosophy is interesting because mostly, generally, you can kind of divide this illusion in two main, ideas. One is this one. Well, I'm this body, I'm capable and strong, and I can get whatever I want. Maybe some people are religious, maybe I'm even religious, but the main point, the focus, the center, this is me, or maybe me and my family, me and my group, and I'm doing fine here actually. The other one is kind of the opposite. This is all illusion, this is all Maya, all this individuality, forms, shapes, relationships. It's all just part of that illusion, and we should all just become one spiritual oneness with no differentiation. So both of those are incomplete understandings. Yes, we are persons and we can manage doing our thing. Yes, we are spirit, soul, and we are not part of this material world. And the way this actually comes to a point where it is complete is when we bring Krishna into the picture, because we can't really put Krishna out of the picture, because everything is coming from Krishna, everything is part of Krishna, especially us. We are of his spiritual nature, we have, just like him, we have individuality, Satchitananda Vigraha. We are persons, we are eternal, we are conscious, and our nature is to be blissful. But in this world, we need a little bit of illusion, because if we want to forget Krishna, if we want to be independent of Krishna, we can't remember him, because then it spoils the whole thing. So Krishna has given us this illusion, and now when we have come to the human form and when we have woken up a little bit and we are following Arjuna's path here, Arjuna's question, Arjuna's frustration actually with the situation, and we kind of recognize it a little bit. And then we can see here how Krishna is giving all these answers, giving all these possibilities, actually giving this satisfying knowledge that there is a reality that makes sense and that is natural for us. We just need a little bit of training. We need a little bit of purification. We need some engagement in this process. And here those few verses about the spiritual master, about obtaining real knowledge. Having obtained real knowledge. So when we have that realization ourselves, we cannot forget it. Just even simple things. I'm a vegetarian. As soon as I started to make my own decisions as a grown-up, when I was 16 years old, I realized that it's a completely foreign thing to buy or cook a part of a dead animal. And once you have seen that, what do you have on your plate, my dear friend? It's a piece of a dead animal. somebody had to kill it in order to put it on your plate. You can't really unsee it. And similarly, when we see this Krishna's presence in this world, how consciousness comes from him, how we come from him. Of course, it's not that you read Bhagavad-gita once and you will never fall in illusion again. It takes a little bit more of realization, practice, determination. But this gives us another vision, another way of looking at this world. It will be the same world, but now it's connected to Krishna, and we can also be connected to Krishna. And Krishna is giving us a process, and especially this point of finding the shelter of a spiritual master who is representing Krishna. It's such an important point. We don't want to do it prematurely. We don't want to do it just like we find that there are groups who say, oh yes, come to our program, we're going to do a little bit of some ceremonies here and there, and then we will give you Diksha. Well, Diksha means initiation. It's a very important step, but also one that we don't enter into whimsically. We want to know who is that spiritual master. We want to know how that connects to Krishna, and we want to know how that connects to us. So yes, we take this knowledge and we pray to Krishna, and we want to be a little bit careful also. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.